The United Kingdom is in a lot of trouble, and it has a lot of foreshadowing in it for us. Pay attention to the articles that we're going to be looking at today because it's going to affect you in whatever country that you're in right now. All right, you guys, as always, let's head to some of the articles of the day. All right, guys, if we look right away, we're going to move into our first article of the day. Now, this is about the United Kingdom, obviously, and this is Liz Truss. This is the big news of the day. Liz Truss is resigning after a chaotic 6 weeks, igniting a new leadership race. Now, she is departing as the shortest serving prime minister in British history. The reason that we're bringing this up today, I know that what happens in England doesn't necessarily stay in England because we are all so connected these days, but there is a lot of lessons that we can take from what is happening in England to affect us. And so we want to know, if that happened here, how would it affect here? There is a lot of populism that is raising up throughout the world. There's a lot of governments that are looking for change because of the amount of trouble that's in. So let's pay attention to what happened in this case. I think it's really, really important. All right. So if we continue on, let's go to the next article. So she is the shortest serving prime minister in British history. Shocking. So why did she get into so much trouble? If we go and take a look at it, they were offering the largest tax cuts in generations. Generations. This is why that is so important. Imagine these guys had the largest tax cuts in 40 years. The largest tax cuts in 40 years. Unbelievable. And instantaneously, the government had to pivot and U-turn and go the opposite direction. Now they have the largest tax hikes in 70 years. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, what was the fallout from all of that? I mean, there was no shortage for this. If we continue on, you guys, in the next article here, this will go on and show you a little bit of what they wanted to do. Now, it says here the plan was setting out an ambitious trend of 2.5% growth per year, which is big for a large economy. But how were they going to do that? Let's take a look at some of the budget that they were actually proposing. And this happened on September 23rd. On September 23rd, they announced the 45% additional rate income tax band would be scrapped entirely. The 40% higher rate charged above 50,000 would remain, so they were not going to raise the taxes. They're also talking about bringing down the basic rate of income from 20% down to 19, okay, 1%. But here is the key sentence of the main goal, and I want you to pay attention to that. For too long in this country, we have indulged in a fight over redistribution. Now we need to focus on growth, not just about how we tax and spend. And this is really the crux of the entire matter. The crux of it all is there's always a bunch of haves and have-nots. And there's going to be one, it doesn't matter what government you're in or what country you're in. There's always a pull to the one side, more the socialist agenda, because people want more money from the government. And then the other side is the other side where they want to keep the money that they've made. And this goes back and forth for centuries. And so most of the Western democracies, they'll have a conservative type and a more liberal type of government, one or two sides. And so there's always this tug and pull over what it is. So they have stated very clearly in that sentence, right? Let's reread that sentence. Actually, it was so important. For too long in this country, or any country, let's talk about, we've indulged in the fight over redistribution. Redistribution. That is the main word, is because the only way that a government can get money to give to somebody is they have to take it from someone else. They have to take it from somebody to give it out. Redistribution. They can't create money, remember. They can print currency, but they can only take money from one person to give it to the next person. Big difference. So this is what they were aiming on. This is what they wanted to do. This is the big one to me, is that they were talking about lowering corporate tax from 25% all the way down to 19%, putting 6% more in corporations' pockets. But remember, when corporations make more money, they also reinvest all that money and hire more people. So focusing on growth. All right, stamp duty being cut. So that's the taxes when you buy a new property, for example. That's very important. Now, what happens when they gave away this massive, massive bill? Now, this bill has something called a 10-year gilt. If we look at the 10-year gilt, you guys, today it's sitting at 3.9%. But if we pull back and look at what it was over the past month, the tumultuous month that Truss actually was running, you're going to see on September 23rd, which was the day that the budget was passed, the markets actually went haywire and the rates actually went to the moon. So though you might think 1% does not change much, when we're talking about trillions of dollars, 1% changes everything. Everything. So what had happened on the 23rd is that it went way up. Sorry, guys, the computer's a bit slow today. It went right up and peaked, and that is what almost defaulted. As you can see, right around the 26th, 27th. On the charts, if you go to marketwatch.com, you'll see the 10-year gilt or the treasuries kind of thing, the bonds. It went way up and almost bankrupted the pensions. So what they had to do is print a lot of money to rescue the market. A lot. The market had a temper tantrum, and by printing 40 billion pounds, 40 billion pounds, it finally brought it down under control where it wasn't spiking. So why did she do this? Why was she aiming on growth and not about tax and spend? Because instead of raising the taxes on everybody by 10, 20% or whatever they need to do, they decided we're going to cut taxes, leave more money in people's pockets, and try to get them to make more jobs and create better economy. Now, where did she learn this? Do you think this is like revolutionary? Do you think this is something new? I want you to take a look at your screen. This has not been tried before, has it? Well, yes, it has. Let's take a look. In the 80s, we have our famous lady, Iron Lady from the United Kingdom. Her name is Margaret Thatcher. Many of you know her. She ran from 1975 to 1990. She ran the whole United Kingdom, and she was a staunch conservative. Now, she had a lot of policies, very, very similar to another very famous guy in the United States. He was an actor. Anybody got a name? Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan ran all through the 80s as well. Very, very, very conservative. Interestingly, though, to me, is what actually brought forth these newer age conservatives to the forefront. It was because of what happened in the 70s, insane inflation to the moon, and the desperation of the market to try to get their financial house in order. They ended up going to these conservative governments, and those governments had a lot of fiscal policies very similar to what Liz Truss tried to do in the United Kingdom. So Liz Truss is gonzo now. She has resigned, shortest prime minister, shortest serving. Unbelievable, you guys. I can't believe that. Now, how did they get out of this big mess? Remember what we were mentioning, how they got out. They got out because they printed money. Really, how could they print more money to get out of inflation, which to me is always shocking when that happens. If we take a look at how much did they print, they had put aside 65 billion pounds in order to help save the markets. And they wanted to give extra measures. It's funny how they say it so loosely, right? Extra measures will be there to support the pension funds. Extra measures. Unbelievable. So they printed 40 billion pounds. Unbelievable. You and I know that when you print money, it's going to hurt you. It's going to create a lot more inflation. But how much more inflation is the question. If you go and check up the website Trading Economics, you could see that the money supply for the United Kingdom continues to go up as inflation goes up. And it will keep on going up over and over again. So this is why I'm saying that inflation is going to be here for a long time. If you take the chart and look at it, it looks just straight up parabolic. If you look at it at 5-year chart, straight up, 10-year chart, straight up, 25-year, almost straight up. Now, look at the United States. They're having really bad inflation too. If you look at it, it's going up and up and up. But you'll see just this year, they have tried to put a cap on it at 21 trillion. They've tried to slow it down, that growth. And so they've successfully slowed it down, but at what price? Which comes back to what we talk about all the time. The governments are stuck between a rock and a hard place. There are no easy decisions anymore. They can either bankrupt everybody overnight by putting the interest rates at 20% or whatever it is, something similar to what we had in the 80s. So if they did that, we would be in like a depression instantaneously, right? It would hurt everything. But at the same time, the other road that they're going down through massive money printing, they are going to continue with this inflationary path. As you print money, it creates inflation. This is economics 101. So as they keep doing this, I expect to see inflation continuing over the years, at least for the next 3, 4, 5 years. That can cause another level of decimation. So either way, if we ruin the economy and you don't have food to feed your family, or we make inflation so hot that you don't have enough money to feed your family, either way, there's going to be a lot of tough times ahead. I don't know how they're going to get out of this because they've kicked the can down the road for so many decades. Where else are they going to go? So that's why we are fanatical here about financial education. It is the single best thing that you can do for yourself. I've been at it for 20 years. And every time I finish reading a book, I find another 5 that I got to read. Financial education is the way that you can get forward. I love getting stories and emails from people because it helps them get out of that grind. You know, I used to be on welfare, you guys. So this is possible. Education is, to me, the most important part. Anyway, you guys, we're here for your health, wealth, and happiness always. I want the very best for you. Please follow us right through this hard times. Our goal is to help you come out of the next 2 years better so that it will affect the next 20 years of your life. Anyway, you guys, please remember to like and subscribe to this. It really helps the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Really helps out the algorithm. Peace. I'll see you on the next one. Hey, you guys, Doxy, how are you? I'll answer a couple questions, you guys, if you want, just before I get going. Roxy, Trudeau. I doubt Trudeau will resign. No way, right? Yeah, you don't think so either. I don't think so on YouTube. There's no way. Is there any way for America to survive this? There's a lot of ways. That's a very deep, long conversation. But they have to get their currency under control. Now, their currency is on fire right now and is doing really, really well, what you read in the newspaper. But in truth, the only reason that the American dollar is doing well is because all the other currencies are doing worse. So just say that inflation in the United States would be at 6% and say that Japan is at 10%. Who's doing worse? Japan's doing worse, so their yen is going to fall even farther. So the relationship between the two, you're going to say, well, the American one looks great. Yeah, but compared to what? But overall, it's still a losing proposition. You're going to take your money and put it in a bank, have 10% inflation, eat away at it, while you only make 1% on interest. It's going to be very, very tough. Tony, what's your question? That's not a very cool way to lead off, man. Oh, okay, you never answer my question. What is the question? I don't see any question on here. Darian, you look like the guy from Stranger Things, but with no hair. Thanks, man. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. England is in a huge dilemma. Absolutely. Massive dilemma. If Saudi and petrodollar, what happens to America? That's a big, big problem. Well, listen, you guys, this is where, if you read this book, let me get this. If you read this book, Peter Zien, The End of the World is Just the Beginning. This guy goes in to talk about it, and it's fascinating because if you go back in time, after the Second World War, they came up with the U.S. being the king dollar of the world. Then Saudi Arabia, after the 70s, they signed a deal in 1974. The United States promised whole military armies to protect Saudi Arabia in exchange for something. They said, we will protect you to the ends of the earth if you'll put all your oil in US dollars, manufactured. That is the only way you can buy it. That creates a worldwide demand of US dollars. That kept their king. If they leave, like you're pointing out, they're in a lot of trouble. So this is where the world is pulling apart into two factions. The BRICS countries on one side, BRICS and maybe Saudi Arabia, Argentina, and then the West, let's call it, quote unquote, Japan, North America, Mexico, Europe, and Australia. They'll get together. So those countries, those friends of friends, are all going to have to be able to produce for themselves. And so those two sides, right? The BRICS countries are the ones that supply the raw goods, but the other side, the Western countries, are the ones that produce all the finished goods. So here's the thing: any time that two countries go to war and kill each other, it comes out bad. It's bad for everybody. Okay, death everywhere. But at the same time, if there's a currency war, or if the world is splitting in two like this, it's going to hurt everybody. So for the Western countries, they're not going to have the raw products. So they're not going to have any stuff. And for the other countries, they're going to have all the raw products, but no finished products. It's going to hurt them too. So this just hurts everybody either way. Why did she quit? She quit because she was heading into a bad time. The party forced her to quit, I think. So she came in with a massive policy, a very conservative policy, kind of like Reaganomics. She came in with that policy, and she got so much blowback from the government, the International Monetary Fund, her own party that flipped on her. Everybody went against her. She had no choice. Shortest reigning PM in British history. Unbelievable. World War III? I don't know. I hope not. Hope to God not. War is terrible for everybody. Both sides of my family are from Ukraine. So, I have like direct bloodline there. This is awful. It's terrible for the Ukrainian people. It's terrible for the Russian people. Those guys don't want to fight. They don't want to be at war, No wars ever work out good for anybody. So if they do throw a nuclear bomb, oh my God, I don't even know. It'd be chaos. The world would be thrown into chaos. It's terrible, unfair. It freaks me up. It keeps me up at night. Let's pray that never happens. I hope not. Man, give me like chills. About Japan, there any way they could rebuild their army? About Japan, there's any way. Is there any way that Japan could rebuild their army? No way. No way. And it's not even possible. Japan doesn't even have the demographics for that. They have no population. All their population is elderly. That's why Japan was the first one to sign under Trump to sign on to America. They're hip to hip now. But their dollar is terrible. The yen in Japan is one of the worst performing currencies in the history of the world. That's a big problem, right? Yeah, Tony, no babies. Japan hasn't been having, their birth rate has been record lows for decades, since the 90s. They are not even at replacement value. So their population is crumbling right now. There's no people under 30 years old. That's why there's so many houses that are empty in Japan. Everyone is dying off, and there's so many empty homes because there's no young people to move into them. Cool, eh? All right, yeah, Liz Truss, she's in some serious trouble. So is Japan. But if we talk about it from a money sense, please name me some countries that don't have any monetary issues right now. So when we're talking about Japan's in trouble, United States is in trouble, Canada's in big trouble, the Euro's in trouble, UK's in trouble. Everyone has burned through so much cash, and there are massive amounts of debt. Massive. So everyone thinks, we can kick this can down the road. We can keep kicking it down the road. Remember 2008? In 2008, we had this much debt. 30% of our GDP was debt. That's it. 30. Today, we're at 130. That means the problems are going to be compounded to the moon. And their only answer is, do you want a depression today or an inflationary depression that we could stretch out over 5 years. Either way, you're screwed, right? So it's a bad choice. The government's in a bad choice, but who's to blame for that, right? So because is it a government? Well, who elected the government? So kind of thing. The problem is us. The man in the mirror, right? Michael Jackson. The man in the mirror is the one that elected the governments and wanting to spend all the money. Of course, it's easy for a government to win saying we're going to spend money on everybody and shower money on everybody, right? Everyone loves that. SSB on YouTube. How are you, buddy? Thanks very much for coming. Sorry, Leah, you said, what the hell? Why is that? Are you talking about Japan? How many increases for Bank of Canada? We have 2 left for this year. 2 left. So there's going to be 1 interest rate hike next week, and then there's 1 more before the end of the year. Most likely, they're going to be 0.75 rates both times. I would not even be surprised if we have a full 1%er for Canada for the last one of the year. But they're probably, most likely, like I don't have an oracle, right? But if we just use history as a guide, the likelihood is Canada's going to have 0.75 2 times, and the United States, their next rate increase will be a full percentage. Here's the thing. Canada always follows the United States when it comes to interest rates. So our interest rates in Canada happen 6 weeks after the United States. And over 90% of the time, we are the exact same as what the United States do. So this is why you have to watch what happens to US and their inflation. Their inflation went from 8.3 down to 8.2. Big whoop. And it was only because gas came down. And now that the OPEC countries are cutting 2 million barrels a day starting November 1, oil's going to go way, way, way back up. And that inflation gain is gone. So they said, okay, let's not look at the regular inflation. Let's pay attention to core inflation only. Let's just remove the volatile fuel and food, as if we don't need fuel and food in our life. And their core inflation, which is made up of whatever, pencils and computer monitors, it's at 6.6, highest core inflation that they've ever had. So they have all the ammunition they need to give a full 1% hike when the US comes. Unbelievable, eh? Chicken on YouTube, how are you? Thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate it. Roxy, you're asking, why is inflation going to be worse in Canada than the United States? My comment to that, I'm not sure if it will be. Canada's inflation will be similar to what the inflation is in the United States. Here's the thing that the United States have going for them, and why I would say I would tend to believe that Canada would be a little worse off. Canada supplies raw goods. We don't supply finished goods as much. That is a problem for us, and the United States is the United States is the reserve currency of the world. They have that going for them. And on the DXY, the US dollar is spiking, like straight up. I mean, strength of the dollar, what they can buy with it. So that strength of the dollar kind of mutes the inflation. So I wouldn't say that it's going to be vastly different, but I do think that the Americans have the edge. Yeah, Jeremy. Yeah, I remember you. You've asked a lot of good questions in the past, man. If you have any questions, you can shoot them out to me. Oh, man, I got a lot of questions. Thank you, Chris. They're upping interest rates next week. Yep, next week there will be some interest rate hikes. What should we be investing in? Oh, that's a long conversation, Tony. That could be like a couple hours long. Yeah, for sure. Put your money on paying off high credit cards, for sure. And mortgages, depends on what kind of mortgage you have, right? There's a lot of different types of mortgage products out there. But you have to be focusing on putting all of your money in places that is making you money. So I have been working for several weeks on developing a very, very long course. It's going to be backbreaking, but 15, 20 hours of finished product, but that takes hundreds of hours to make. So once we have that, it's going to be everything that I do and all the streams of income that I have. So, I have over 20 streams, but you need to have that to beat inflation. How do you beat inflation? You have to make more money than inflation. So let's take an example. If inflation is at 8%, we all know that that's not correct. But if inflation is at 8, you got to make 10, 15%, right? Because if inflation is 10 and I made 12%, I only actually made 2% of my money. I'm just barely outpacing. So you got to figure out a way to make way more. Stated inflation is sitting at 8% right now, but the real inflation is sitting around 16% when you look at the money supply or how they measured it in the 80s. So you got to be able to figure out ways to make 20% or greater every year. And that's why on our real estate, we're making a minimum of 35% on our properties. On some of them, we're making 50, 60%. Tony, are utility gas prices going up? Oh, for sure. And as we head into this winter, it's going to be going a lot higher, because as soon as Europe goes into that cold, they're going to demand all of that heating to help them not freeze to death. So as the demand goes up, the price is going to go up. Jeremy, Roxy, if you have any questions, fire away on YouTube. Desi, about your why is the Japanese interest rate so low? You guys, that's a very simple thing. They can't afford the interest on it any higher. They don't have really a choice. They have the largest debt to GDP in history. They're the only country ever that has breached 130% debt to GDP and hasn't collapsed. But yet, don't worry, it will. They cannot afford. So they have been implementing yield curve control for decades. That's why. Hey, Chris Price, how are you, man? Tony, I can show you guys some computer stuff. The calculator, it's going to be available for sale tomorrow. Do you guys want to see how to calculate some cool properties? Anybody want to see some cool property calculator stuff? Just write calculator in the comments if you want to see how I can evaluate over 100 properties an hour. Anybody want to take a look at it? If you guys want to, just write calculator and I'll do it. If not, just fire in some other questions if you want. Yeah, you want the calculator? All right, let me see if I can find it here. I'm going to pull it up on my screen. I'll have to flip it. Hopefully you guys like this stuff. I have to find it on my computer so that you guys can take a peek. Whoops, that's not it. Got it. All right, let's share my screen, my friends. Sorry, you guys. I have to change the complete channel here for you. There. Can everybody see it? Pretty well, pretty clear? Yeah, good. All right, let's go to town. Let's flip this screen for you guys. Let's see if we can, sorry. Let's get to work. You want to evaluate some properties, you guys can let me know if you want, what questions that you want and what you want to see. Hopefully everyone can see it, right? So this is how we go about figuring out how much a property can give us on values. So let's just say that you had a property that you were going to buy for 700,000. Say that we had a property for 700,000. You're going to type in exactly how much your rent is going to be. We try to figure out what our rent is. So say on a $7,000 house, if we're in Toronto, maybe you're going to make $3,500. You put in your rent, your taxes will probably be higher than that. Your insurance might be $110 a month. I don't know. I'm just guessing, You're probably going to property manage it yourself. Then you put in whatever your vacancy, your maintenance is going to be. You put in your mortgage rate at 20% down. Maybe your interest rate is going to be higher than that. Let's put in 5.5 right now. And if you do that in year one, you'll make 33% right here. And in year 1 to 5 total, you'll make 191% on your money. You'll triple your money in 5 years. So how we get that, there's a lot of other computations here, but we'll get year 1 totals, year 2, 3, and 4, and 5. And we calculate the total return of these 5 years. So when we're going to look at the calculator, you put in the price of your home. You only fill in the yellow cells. You put in the price of the calculator and your rents. After you put in the rents, taxes, insurance, property management, vacancy, and maintenance if you want, and you put your mortgage numbers in here, it'll automatically calculate for you your mortgage information here with current cash flows, the cash flows using market rent down here, these 2 squares. It'll also give you your 5-year tax deduction summary with depreciation. You talk to your accountant about that. It also has your 5-year debt principal pay down. Then it will have your average appreciations and your rent growth calculators all calculated in here. This calculator is all the rent growths that you get, and then it gives you your totals. But what I do is I just fill in my yellow squares at the top and see my numbers. I want to see how much that I'm going to make on these properties. So the minimum that I would probably like is 35%. I like to get properties at 50%, 60%, per year. This is what I would be gunning for. So you have to look at a calculator like this. And hey, guys on YouTube, yep. Let me know if you guys can see this and if you have any questions about it. But this is how it works. But I think it's pretty cool. Let me know if you guys think it's pretty cool. But there's what I did is on the side, there is some definitions because we have a lot of people asking us what those mean. But appreciation cap rate, which is capitalization rate, closing costs is the legal, depreciation, this is what they call it in the States. But in Canada, it's called capital cost allowance. So you'll notice that this calculator is a Canadian version, but we have an American version of the same one where it is for the tax law is different. So as far as the tax deduction summary, there's a different calculation for Canada versus our American properties. So if we continue over here, I guess the improved value. So this could also be called the improvement value. This is the values of your homes. The assessed value ratio, that's the land to improvement ratio. Loan to value ratio, we need that as well. And what the maintenance fund is, NOI and ROI. So you guys might know this because I've been working in this for 20 years. So, this, if you stop me and go, hey, David, what's NOI? I have to actually think about it for a second. It's net operating income because we've just used that language for so long. So once you get used to these terms, they will be just like second nature to you. But what I did here is so that I can review properties really, really quickly and evaluate them to see if what they're worth. Desi, do I claim CCA? Of course. Why wouldn't you? You have tax benefits. Why wouldn't we always take it, right? Tony, you're saying you bought it $245K? I don't know when you bought it for $245K and $2,750 rent. 110 tax. Oh, insurance is 110. Okay. Tax per year, 3,500. And your interest is 2.4. So we're just doing his example here, but this is the purchase price, rent, tax, insurance, and then we have the down payment and interest rate. So this is what it gives you. But do you have vacancy and maintenance? I don't know if you have it property managed. Oh, and you have a 30-year term. So you have a 30-year term, different. You got it in 2010. Okay. So now it comes up to 67% per month. So if you want to know where all that comes from, you got to go down to this calculator and find out exactly how much cash came from cash flow, how much cash came from cash flow, how much came from principal pay down, how much came from tax savings, appreciation, so that you get your total return. And so, as you'll know, some things will be changing, right? Appreciation always changes greater and greater every year. And so does your cash flow will adjust every single year. So total in 5 years, you should make 376% if you're being on it, and watching for it. Guys, I just flipped off the screen. I'm sorry, just for a second, so that I can see you on YouTube. Hey, so we got Cynthia, Jeremy, Roxy. Do you want to give me an idea of a property, and let's run that property? Give me some questions, some numbers, and I'm going to help you, and I'll run it on the calculator if you want. You let me know if you want. Does anyone else want me to run any numbers? We got quite a few people actually on YouTube. We got quite a few people on TikTok. So if you guys have any questions on this is how you're going to make millions. I got to tell you though, if you're going to be in this computer over here and look at this and look at these numbers at 67% per year, you guys, if you can manually continually keep it at 67% per year, if you could do that, you will be a millionaire. Hands down, it's impossible not to. Just figure that. I know that this says 67% here, but let's just try to imagine an easier number. If you could make 100% per year and double your money per year, you make $1,000 into 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32,000, 64,000, 124, 128, 512, $1 million. You're 9 doubles away from $1 million. So this is 40% less. Maybe you're going to be 12 or 13 doubles away. So in 12 to 13 years, you're going to be a millionaire, even if you start with no money. And the more money you have, the faster you're going to get there. Imagine if you started with 100,000. You only need like 6-7 years, and then you're going to be out. Cynthia, thanks very much, man, for these numbers. This is great. Okay, I might have to flip back and forth between the screens. Let me just write this down so I could be more efficient with it, if you don't mind. Let's write this down. Cynthia, give me some more numbers. House cost $390,000, $80,000 down. Can you tell me what that percentage would be? Can you work that out for me? And taxes, $3,500 a year. And you renoed it for $50,000. Okay, and the basement's going to be $1,000 a month. That's the only rent that you're going to get is $1,000 a month, Cynthia? We're missing some numbers. 20%. Okay. What are you going to rent the upstairs, Cynthia, for the property? So let's put in these numbers. $390,000 plus the $50,000 renovations brings it to $440,000. We're going to wait a second for her to give me the rest of the rent. She put down $80,000, which is $28,000, 20%. And she has $3,500 in tax. Ironically, that's exactly what we have here. Okay, we're going to leave $110, I guess, for insurance. And I need to know your interest rate. What are you getting on your interest rate? Oh, you live upstairs. Okay. You heard that you can rent the top floor for $1,900. Okay, that's the number that I would like. And let's just say that you've had it for a little while. I'm going to guess what your interest rate is, but if you want to put it in for me, you can. So what you do here is you put in $1,000 for one floor and $1,900 for the next floor. Making any sense? So you're coming up with the $440,000, $2,900 rent, $3,500 taxes. I put $110 for insurance per month. You still have money getting put aside for vacancy and maintenance. And you're up to 46.86% per year. In 5 years, you'll make 260% on your money. Your yearly ROI is 11.4%. You tell me a bank account that you can make more than 11.4%. 3.5% interest. Okay, so let's go change those numbers again, okay, Cynthia? While you're looking there, 3.5, right? 3.5. That brings it down to 44% on your money. 5 years, you're at 249% on your money. Pretty cool, right? Interest at 3.5. Nice. So hopefully that gave you some good numbers. So with this calculator, this is how you can go over a lot of different properties really, really, really quickly, where you can look at total price, rent, and have your interest rates. This is where you have to be laser focused. All the numbers don't matter. I don't care what the purchase price is. I don't care what the rents are. I don't care what all of the other things are. All I really focus on is this. How many dollars can I make? So I know that let's take Cynthia's example. Cynthia, you put out $88,000 and we don't have any closing costs, okay? But you paid $88,000 out of pocket, and in 5 years, you will have made $219,000 in addition. That's what I care about. This is how many dollars am I going to get paid? So I'm focused on the percentages so that I get paid more money. That's what I want. Thanks for your example, Cynthia. Hopefully that helped. Jean the Builder, you're asking me on TikTok here, what would you buy, a fourplex or sixplex? To my knowledge, a sixplex is what makes you the real money. Well, not necessarily, because a fourplex, you still might be able to get a fourplex at residential rates, and a sixplex you might have to get commercial rates. And if commercial rates are going to be 2% higher, you're going to make more money on your fourplex. So Jean, yeah, not necessarily. You have to run the numbers. So look, right now, let's just say that this exact unit right here, okay, I'm not going to change anything on here, and it's making 44%. If you had to pay 2% higher because it's a commercial loan, watch what happens. I made less. I made less money. So our goal here is for you. Oh, and actually, this is a 20. I'm still on Tony's year. Usually we do 25, right? So 5.5, I make 40% on my money. I knock it down to 3.5. Maybe you got a residential rate. You make more cash. That's the main thing that we are looking for. You have to focus on percentages. So this is why you got to get this calculator. You guys can make this calculator yourself, but it will take you about 150 hours. I had to pay a lot of money to have this built. So and then, back and forth a million times to make it do what I want. You can go do this, or you can send me an email to contact@Rough Team Realty. Just send an email to contact@Rough Team Realty. You can do that, and then just write calculator in the comment bar, the subject bar, and I'll send you an email link. Yeah, I made it available as of tomorrow. You can buy it as of tomorrow. It's $39. Yeah, Jean, you're very welcome. Hope that helps. So this stuff I think it's pretty helpful. I hope that you guys think it's helpful. Cynthia, I think that you like this one, right? It's so cool to me. But if we take this and zoom it out, you guys, look at how many calculations are having to happen all at the same time. Ooh, I can't even make it too small. Yeah. So these are all the calculations, and every single line, you don't see all the layers of code that are behind it. So up here is the purchase price. Then you put in the rents. This gives you current cash flow. This is optimal cash flow. This is the principal pay down calculator. This one right here is the tax. It's either depreciation or capital cost allowance. This here is the appreciation. This here is the rent increases. And this is your cash flow off of your rent increases that feeds your total. So all that we're really aiming at, just fill out the yellow squares and then look at the blue. That's what we want you to do. That'll make it really easy. So for me, when I'm going to be reviewing tons of properties, I'm putting in value, rent, a couple of the rough numbers, and bam, looking at the numbers here. So I can still get my total year over year ROI. I can still get that, but this is the number that I'm looking at first. You got to be able to look at a lot of different properties all at the same time. Cynthia, you've been thinking about buying another house. That's good, man. So listen, what, Cynthia, this is what you got to do, is just be laser focused on percentages. So congrats. I don't remember where you live, Cynthia, but you can run different numbers from different locations just with the MLS. You'll have the purchase price, try to find out what the rent is on the MLS, and try and find out what the taxes are. The rest you're going to have to try to fill in yourself a little bit, but this will help you a lot. So there are some assumptions that you have to make whenever you're going to do looking at any property. So of course we have to put in the price and the rent and taxes and how much you're paying and the interest rate. Of course, the assumptions that you have to put in is, what is the land to value ratio? You're going to have to do that. What do you think is the appreciation on those types of units, and how much can you raise rent by? There's 3 tiny boxes here. You'll see them in yellow, but here, let's zoom in so you can see them. Remember I said only fill in the yellow squares? So you'll see there's one box right here. There's one box right here, and there's one box right here. So those are your assumptions that you have to do to feed into these top ones. Oh, Oshawa. Hey, Cynthia. Yeah, you're right in my neck of the woods. I work in Oshawa all the time. Yeah, so you got to run something like this. So we had a client of ours. He's bought probably 15 houses off of us or something like that. And he is doing the same thing. So he's asking us questions. Should I buy in Oshawa? Should I buy downtown? And he's a numbers-based guy, works for a bank. So I sent him this form because he's been with me for like a decade. I sent him this calculator as a gift. And now this is what he uses to determine where he's going to buy. Cool, right, guys? Do you guys like that? If you guys have any other questions on the calculator, just let me know. I got to get running, you guys, but it's been a blast. It's been fun. Any other questions for me about the calculator? Whoops. You would never buy in Oshawa downtown, Tony? There's some good areas, man. But you know what? This is the thing. This is why it's so fun. The world is so full of different people. It's very fun for me. Wouldn't it be boring if we were all the same? We all dressed the same, ate all the same food? That's why I love working with different people, because everyone's different. All right, so I'm going to look at another property that we had just looked at for somebody earlier today. It's a $600,000 unit. And guess how much the rent's for? You're going to be shocked at this one. Guess how much it rents for? $3,000. $3,000. Okay, so you put that in right now. The property taxes per year, I think, was $2,700 if I remember correctly. We put in the $2,700. Let's leave the insurance at the exact same thing. He's property managing it though. Okay, so he has somebody paying property management for it, and his interest rate is 5.5. So look at that. He's at 31%. So 31% to me is a no-go. I wouldn't be buying that property at that price. It's way too low. If we look at our yearly ROI right here, it's at minus 8%, and it's only 31% per year my first year. Now, can you believe the arrogance of this guy, David? Right? I'm talking about myself, right? How can I be complaining about I'm only making 31%? I'm not complaining. In a real world, I would be happy to be making 31% every year. But let's be real. I'm greedy. I want more money than that. I would love it to be higher, be whatever it's going to be. But 35% is kind of like my cutoff. I won't do anything under 35%. I want to make 35% of my money because I want to buy some cool stuff, later on in my life. Anyway, if you guys have any other questions about these computers, let me know. Send me an email to contact@RoughTeamRealty. contact at Rough Team Realty, and then just write calculator in the subject bar if you're interested in. It's going to be available as of tomorrow. We just had to build the website for it. Had a lot of people ask me for it over time, so now going to make it available for other people. So if you guys want to do that, great. If not, I suggest that you build something for yourself. Get going on that. Either build it or buy it, one of the two. So this is my main advice for you guys. Get going on this. You got to be starting to make a lot more money because inflation is coming for your money. So unless you're doing it, the bank is going to do it on you. So that's what I want you to do. I'm here for your health, wealth, and happiness. You guys, if you want me to help you sell your home, you can also go to contact at Rough Team Realty or send me a direct message. That's what we specialize in, is selling homes faster for more money with less hassle. Everywhere in the Greater Toronto area, Barrie to Oshawa, all the way down to Niagara Falls. All right, you guys, I wish you the very, very best. Hang on a second. Yeah, condo fees. So when you're talking about condo fees, I'll look. I add the condo fees in there. Let me pull up my calendar. I add the condo fees for myself right around here. Somewhere in gas, electric, water, sewage. I don't include them in all the properties. I'll put them in somewhere else that I'm putting it in for. I just add it in. Anywhere, it doesn't really matter. Rick, what's the difference between rent, mon, and market rent? Oh, so that is that's what they're talking about right on the top. Okay, that is where we're talking about the current rent and optimal rent. So rent for the month is the first one, and market rent is how much I'm going to boost it after I have completely redid it. Rick, what's the difference? Oh, yeah. You emailed me and still waiting. Rick, did you email me with the word calculator on it? Because there's a bunch of people that have, and we've taken all those names and they're on a list. Tomorrow when it goes live, we're going to be sending out an email with the link that you can get the calculator. We had a problem with our payment systems on one of our calculators. Okay, you did. Good. So you're going to get an email tomorrow about the calculator. Anybody that put their name on the list, I'll be sending it out tomorrow. Sound good? All right, you guys. Rick, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Tony, hello, everybody. Cynthia, thank you so much. Roxy, thank you. I hope that you have a good night. I hope that you learned something. Listen, we are in for some troubled waters over the next couple of years. That's why I keep telling you, stick with me over the next 2 years, because it's going to dictate the next 2 decades of your life. This is the biggest opportunity of your life to make a lot of money. Prices are falling, and they're falling everywhere. And we want you to be safe, make a bunch of money, and so that you can make sure that you can take care of your family. I mean, without that, what else do you have? Anyway, I wish you guys the very, very best. Health, wealth, and please, you guys, TikTok, please follow me on YouTube. I'm trying to get my subscribers up there. If I've offered you any value at all today, please, I hope I earned a thumbs up and a subscribe. All right, you guys, I wish you the very best. Jessica, you said how far? Sorry, what do you mean how far? Where do I work? Where do we sell properties? We sell it from Barrie all the way to Oshawa down to Niagara Falls. Now, there are certain circumstances that I work outside of that. It really depends. Oh, how far could they fall? It really depends how much the rates go. Remember, there is a rule out there, a mathematical rule. This is not feelings. Math is for every 1% that the interest rate goes up, the property values drop 10. So if they've raised 5% this year, what does that tell you? Home prices could fall 50% by that logic, right? So how much farther could they fall down? This all comes down to how high will the rates go and how long will they go, right? It's not how high it goes, because it can go 20% for a week, a month. It wouldn't change anything. That wouldn't cause a lot of damage. But if they put it at 7%, 8%, 9%, and they left it there for 5 years, it will cause irreparable harm to the economy. So we have to wait and see what they do. I still think that there's going to be a small pivot. What does a pivot mean? Stopping raising rates and maybe even lowering them a bit. But to go back to 0.25%, I doubt it. I doubt it. A $400,000 house. I don't know, Jessica, where that house is. Remember, the farther that the home is from a main city, like it really depends. A-class cities are going to drop the most because they're the most over leveraged. It really types on the type of property, right? So if you're in entry level, like 4-plexes, 6-plexes, they might drop. But the 50-plexes and 100-plexes don't drop at all. They actually go up. Whereas a $3 million home might drop 50%, but a $400,000 home in Toronto is not going to go down at all and most likely will go up. So that's why it's very, very tough. Niagara Falls could drop. Niagara Falls could drop because it's had a massive, massive boom and a lot of people were over leveraged in the Niagara region. Now, there's two forces. There's inflation that's pushing your price of home up, and there is the rent increase and the rate increase that's pulling prices down. So two things can be accurate at the exact same time. So your home would have to go up 15% in a year just based on inflation, but it has to drop 50% because of the interest rate. So you have to put the two together. Samantha saying, yeah, Kitchener's going to be in a serious doo-doo. Kitchener is in a massively over-leveraged market. And it really depends when you bought it, when you bought the property. If you bought the property in the last 4 or 5 years, you could be in trouble. The Kitchener area is, and Cambridge, they had massive booms and people were buying up. I mean, we were doing properties out there for our clients where we were have 40 offers that we were fighting on the property. So now that the prices are very, very high, people are leveraged 80, 90% on their properties. So this is where you have to be smart when you're buying, right? You have to combine all the cross currents, inflation and interest rate at the same time. Samantha, this is the problem. Is it a good time for investment property? It is always a good time for investment property. I say never fall in love with the house, only fall in love with the deal. Get a calculator wherever it is. You can buy mine if you want. It's $39. Email me at contact at Rough Team Realty if you want. That's where you have to look at it and you fall in love with the deal. Fall in love with the thing that makes you the most money. I don't care. Some of my houses don't look that pretty, but when you look at the balance statements, you're like, dang, that looks great. Fall in love with the deal. So any day, it doesn't really matter where. If you tell me, David, my family's from Sault Ste. Marie, small town, okay? I can go up to Sault Ste. Marie and find a deal today. I could also go find a deal in Toronto today. I can find deals all the time. Montreal Services. There's always a deal somewhere. Jessica, what are people going to do when they buy a house at a high price and sooner or later they're going to have to cut their losses? So that's a good question, but that's why I said you're going to be in trouble, because in the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a massive boom, right? Especially since the pandemic hit. And when that happened, what do you think happened? All the prices went up because of inflation. But if the prices drop, so let's take, for example, we sold a home for $1.2 million. It used to be $1.8 million just a few months ago. They had a lot of equity in your home. So imagine that it was a debt. So you have a home at $1.8 million. You only have 20% into it. Now you owe more on your home than what it's worth. That's called a callable loan. The bank can come to you and say, we're not giving you that anymore. You have 10 days to hand us $400,000 or we foreclose on your home. So it's not going to be the choice of people anymore whether to cut their losses. It's going to be the banks that move in and call that loan. Once that happens, woo, get ready for some fireworks. Once the banks start calling loans, oh my God, that is when you see what happened in 2009, in the United States. Right. Now, in the States is very different because they was like when I was in Florida during the last recession, you could go to the city hall and people are selling homes right on city hall steps. And it's like an auction. Oh, do I have 30,000? Do I have 35,000? Do I have 37,000? They're just calling them out and you could buy a home that fast. And they have power of sales a lot down there. Short sales down in the US. In Canada, it's not really like that. The banks immediately go to a trusted agent and they will just sell it on the MLS. So you don't get the same types of deals that you have. Tony, I can see how you could say that feels like extortion. It does, but it's up to the bank. It's the bank's money. They lent it to you. They can call it back anytime that they want. Oh, Ottawa resident, you said, is my course ready? Patiently waiting. Listen, man, we are filming several hours a day on that course. Several hours a day. And we have full-time editors working on that course. Because, in order to have a 20-hour course, it takes hundreds of hours of filming. So it's really, really, really intense, but it's coming. I am working on it. The editors are working on it. Tessa, Ray, Glenn, Alexis, thank you everybody so much for working on it for me. David, has there been more listings this year compared to the last 3-4 years? Oh yeah. Everywhere, every city, doesn't really matter where. This year, every city in Canada is having like record amounts of listings. It's crazy. Yeah. But we also have had a really crazy couple years where there was no inventory, right? When are they going to call in the loans? Whenever they want. It's their money. Remember, when you sign a mortgage, all you're saying is, I want to borrow your money and I have to give it back if you ever ask for it back. And that's what a mortgage is. Desi, if the bank calls back the loan, will they still charge penalties? Don't know. Depends on the bank. Depends on your paperwork. You got to go read your mortgage paperwork. Samantha, the mortgage rate hike is going to continue, right? We're going to have probably 2 more hikes this year, 0.75 twice. And I wouldn't even doubt it that the American one, when does the American rate hike come up? In like 2 weeks or something, 3 weeks? When theirs comes out, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a 1%er. Rates are rocketing higher, man, right now. But I don't know. After they raise it 2 more times this year, I don't know how much more availability they have in the market, because it's most likely going to tank. They can't. Guys, we'll be at 10%. I saw mortgage rates already today at 8%. 8. We'd be at 10% mortgages. My mortgages I locked in earlier in the year at 1.75, and it goes to 10. Mind blowing. And listen, I'm the first to admit I got this completely wrong. I'm right on a lot of things, sure, but I'm wrong on some things. This I am so wrong on. I thought there was no way that they could ever raise rates as much as they have. And that's why I think there's a lot of like kind of sly stuff going on, guys. If you remember, before 2020 ever happened, 2019 was the repo market, and the repo market collapsed overnight. They had to inject tens of billions of dollars just to avoid the market from an absolute collapse. And you guess what that came from? They raised the rates 0.25% in 2019, the fall. Go look it up. Reverse repo. It's what the banks do when they lend. You can bank 9 to 5, but these big banks, they bank 24 hours a day. So when they do that, they have to lend back and forth in the night. And the repo rates went so high, it almost collapsed the entire world system with a 0.25% hike. I thought there was no way that they could possibly do this. And I'm shocked that it is where it is right now. Shocked. Got a 2,700 square foot property in Woodstock, $800K, and closing in 2024. What do you think about this deal? Whew. I'd be scared about anything that closes in 2024. You might not get it. People all over the place. They don't have the lumber. They don't have the labor. They don't have the washing machines. Guys, I went to go buy a freezer the other day. A freezer. It's backdated. I have to wait 6 months for a freezer, and the price is double from the one I paid for 2 years ago. So this is happening for all of our properties, our rental properties. When I had to get a hot water tank, a dishwasher for different properties, and I got to wait months to get them. I have a window on one building that just broke, and they said, yeah, it'll be 3 months to get a window. So this is why there's going to be some serious problems coming up. Jessica, the reason they raise rates is to cool the economy. Inflation is sitting at record highs right now, and they need to cool the economy down. So to cool the economy down, the government doesn't have a lot of tools. They got like one tool: raise the interest rates. So what do? Is they go into your pocket and take all the money out with with the interest rate, and you have nothing left to go buy anything. And if you don't have any money to go buy anything, inflation slows down. That's how it works. Yeah, inflation is the tool to quash inflation. Interest rate is the tool to quash inflation. But if we go back and look at the inflation, the last time it was this bad was back in the 80s, and they raised interest rates to 15%. Mortgages were at 20%. Crazy. So let's hope it doesn't get to that, because I don't want to damage anybody. But at the same time, I hope it does get to that, because I'm going to buy more houses than I've ever bought in my life. If interest rates were 20%, man, home prices would be decimated, and then I could buy properties for 5 cents on the dollar. So in a way I like it, in a way I don't. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Montreal Services, you said you're starting to buy precious metals. That's my man. You've been following me for a while here, man. I know your name. This is smart. You should. Everybody should have some gold and silver in your portfolio. Let me ask you a question. So every government of the world, except for Canada, has big gold stashes. The reserve currency of the world in United Kingdom before 1900, huge stash of gold before World War I. United Kingdom now has some, but America has the biggest amount. And all of Russia, China is storing thousands of tons of gold, thousands of tons. And all the rich guys that have big portfolios and hedge fund managers, they have gold. But then sometimes when I talk to one individual person, they're like, I'm not going to buy any. I think that's stupid. And I'm like, well, if you think it's stupid, you must think that all the governments are stupid, all the hedge funds are stupid, all the financial planners are stupid. And like, that's how I didn't understand it. And I started buying it just because I was like, well, if all the rich guys are doing it, like, I should be doing it too, And that's why I started doing it. But then over time, I kept on reading more and more and more about it. And then it kind of started shifting my focus. What is the difference between Kitco and TD precious metals? I would just value the two to buy the cheapest amount of gold that you can. Remember, we're after weight. We're not after prettiness. So if they come out with a coin with a unicorn on it, okay, and it's a special limited edition, I don't care. It's not going to be worth any more later, because every time you go and sell your gold and silver, all they do is take it and put it on a scale and weigh it. Okay. So might as well get the most gold I can for the cheapest price I can. So you normally get a 1 ounce brick, as you guys know. This is normally what I get. Don't ever buy a silver certificate, anything like that, where they're going to give you a piece of paper that says, I promise to pay you 1 ounce of gold in the future. No, I never do that. I don't trust anybody. I want it myself. I buy them. I have one at home just to show you guys. But everything else, you never keep yourself. You either pay a company like Kitco to hold it for you, or you're going to put it in a private vault or in a safety deposit box. The reason I say to always go to a very trusted place is because this stuff, you can buy a fake one for like $15, $20. I saw just the other day. You can buy a fake one for $15. So buy it from a trusted source. Is silver a good buy right now? Yeah, I love silver. Silver is amazing. But the silver premium has gotten too expensive right now. So right now, I'd be buying gold, even though the gold to silver ratio favors silver. You just noticed that TD sells precious metal and it's lower than Kitco, then buy that one. Buy the cheapest one you can. But just don't buy pretty. We buy weight. And check them often. I mean, the prices change like every hour, right? So just check them, whichever one is cheaper at the time. Platinum, no, I don't buy platinum, palladium, rhodium. I don't buy any of those. I buy silver and gold. Guess what, man? Silver and gold has been money for 5,000 years. It's good enough for me. Rhodium, platinum, they use it in some catalytic converters. Okay? What? what if we have no gas cars anymore? So no, I just stick to gold and silver. Montreal Services, you're waiting for my course. Guys, I'm trying. I'm so sorry. I am working on it every single day, and so is our staff. So thank you guys for being patient. It's going to be really fun. All right, you guys, I got to get going, man. This is it went a bit longer than I expected. I wish you the very best. Keep crushing it. Keep learning. Education is the key to get you out, guys. You can go from welfare to millionaire, no problem, if you follow the right steps. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Thank you very much, YouTube. Thank you. I hope you have a good night. Send me any questions. Contact at Rough Team Realty, okay? See you later.